Hey, this is Chase from ShotScience.com, and welcome to our introductory video on defense. It's Defense 101. Welcome to the classroom. Now, the next important element of the defensive stance is where do we put our hands? A lot of coaches teach both hands in the air to cut off passing lanes. Well, the way we teach hands is to have a tip hand and a rip hand. We do believe it's important to have a hand in the passing lane, but usually if you force the offense to have the ball on one side or the other instead of allowing them to keep it in the box, then we can get a hand on any pass that they're throwing to that side. If the ball's on the right side of the offensive player, they're not going to throw it back to the left unless they bring the ball back to that side. Now, how do we keep them from bringing it back to that side? Well, that's where we use the rip hand. So anytime our offensive player brings the ball across their body, we can use the rip hand to knock the ball free if they bring it through the box. And that tip hand is used to get a piece of any pass that's thrown to that side. Now, the rip hand is really important for creating a good defensive player. It really forces the offense to keep the ball on one side of their body to the other, which limits the players that they can pass to on their team and keeps them from being able to drive to either side at any time. So if we use that rip hand and keep it there to knock any ball that goes through the box, it takes the offensive player a lot of time to bring the ball back and forth between each side and keeps them from really focusing on players that they can pass to. So if we're really aggressive with that rip hand and we're pressuring the offense and forcing them to keep the ball on one side, it can really limit what they can do as an offensive player. Now, as the offensive player rips the ball back to the other side through the box, we can knock the ball free, but if we don't get the ball or if they take it outside the box, then we want to switch hands. So then now our opposite hand that was the tip hand is now the rip hand in case they bring the ball back. And our other hand now becomes the tip hand in case they throw a pass to that side. Now, the next important part about defense is adding movement. In basketball, we're not static. Players are moving, so we're going to have to slide our feet. And we like to use the terminology step drag. So this is a little bit more of an advanced defensive move from just the basic stance position, but we think that we can teach just the basic elements of step drag for you to work on. Now, the step drag is really important to move to stay in front of the offensive player. As the offensive player drives to one side or the other, we have to step with one foot and drag with the back foot. Now, it's really important to keep those feet shoulder width apart and further, not any closer than shoulder width. Because once we bring them closer than shoulder width, we get off balance. And the whole point of basketball is to stay on balance while your opponent is off balance. Now, another important way to stay on balance in defense is to make sure that our head isn't bobbing up and down. We should stay at the same level at any point when we're going through the step drag. So if our player is driving right, we should step drag to cut them off without going up and down and staying very low and on balance. So here's the rundown on basic defense 101. First, we have to make sure that we mirror the three-point line and square up to the offensive player. Secondly, we have to make sure that we're centered over their ball side shoulder. Thirdly, we want to make sure that we're in a good defensive stance, that our posture, our back is nice and neutral, we're dropped down, our butt's down towards the ground, and our knees are bent. The next one, we want to make sure that our hands, that we have a good tip hand and good rip hand. And as the ball is ripped back and forth, we switch those hands and knock any ball free that comes through the box. And lastly, we want to make sure that we have a good step drag and that we're moving quickly and staying on balanced.